I'm going to put 2 cups of roasted or oven baked walnuts to crisp them up. These have already been baked. I did them at 300 for about 15 minutes, which makes them a little bit crispier and a little bit tastier. So I take about 2 cups of these, and then I'm going to put them in a small blender, and I'm going to crush them down a bit, and you'll see you're going to have that as opposed to that. I'm going to do it again because I'm making a large batch. This is what the cookies are going to be rolled in once they're formed. Okay, now that the walnuts are all done, now we're going to put together the dough. So I'm doubling the recipe, so we're going to use a half a cup of brown sugar, firmly packed. And you see, I keep it in a Ziploc bag. Makes it a little easier as it doesn't harden up. So as you can see, I just stick it right in there and I push it through the bag. That way I'm not getting the sugar all over my hand. Firmly packed. 1 cup of butter. I use unsalted real butter. And then you're going to beat that. Mix it together until it's all soft and creamy. In case you're wondering, this is a cut toilet roll. I put tape around it and I tie all my things up, all my cords with it. Makes it nice and tidy. So I usually start a little slow so things don't go flying out of the bowl. And then just slowly up the speed on it. Push that off to the side. Okay, now I need to separate 2 eggs. So I'm going to put the whites into this bowl. The yolks are going to be going into this one. Some people like to use their fingers to separate the yolk and the whites. I prefer to use the eggshells, which kind of broke that one. And we're just going to mix it up a little bit more. I usually run them a little harder to get the batter off of the beaters. And now I'm going to add 2 cups. This is already pre-sifted flour. I use the Robin Hood all-purpose, but it is pre-sifted. So we're going to add 2 cups of flour to this. And with a wooden spoon, mix it up. And always remember, when you're dealing with any kind of doughs, never over mix them. You just want them mixed until they're blended. And once you can't use a spoon any longer, you can actually put your hands right into it and use your hands to mix it. Which is what I'm going to do right now. So. And you just keep doing it until it comes away from the walls. Okay, so now we're going to have a nice dough. It's not too wet, it's easy to work with when it's like this. Okay, so for a minute here, we're just going to put that aside. And we're going to mix the egg whites. Just froth them up a little bit. Now, I can either use the electric mixer or I can do it by hand. So you can see the air going into it, the bubbles. So you just want to mix it until it goes a little bit white. Okay, so that's mixed enough. So now, what you do is take about a 1-inch ball, you roll it in your hands, and then you dip it in here, mix it in, roll it in your walnuts till it's nicely coated, and then we put them onto a baking pan. Just carefully stick your finger into the center. And there's your Thimble cookies. That's how they're made. Okay, generally what I like to do is roll all my dough out into the balls first. The reason why I like to do this is because if you roll out a ball, dip it in the walnut, and then pan, your walnuts are going to get right into the dough, and I want the walnuts on the outside, not inside. So I pre-make all my balls first before I start dipping. Sometimes they will crack a little bit when you're doing this. This is why I try and hold them down while I'm doing it. See, if you put your fingers around, it stops them from cracking. See? Some people use a thimble. I find my thumb works just as well because at least I know how deep I'm going with my thumb. With a thimble, you can't feel your depth on it. Okay, once these are all indented, almost forgot one, then you're going to put them in the oven for about 8 minutes. So I'll put this first batch in. Center rack, right in the center. Oven is at 350. And we're going to put the timer on for 8 minutes. Oh, we're beeping. It's been 7 or 8 minutes. So I'm going to shut that off. And how I tell that they're cooked is I use just a spatula and I just see if they move up easy like that, then they're done. And sometimes I have to print them, but they look like they all stayed pretty good printed. So you let them cool for a couple of minutes, but I'll show you what I do with one. After they've cooled, you can use any kind of jam. I like Smucker's. I use the sugar-free, just in case somebody's diabetic, it helps them. After they're cooled, put a droplet of jam in them. And that's what they look like when they're done. Thimble cookies, what I do is I put them in either a cookie tin or a box lined with wax paper. And then I put a layer not filled with jam. Please don't fill them before freezing them. So you layer them in the bottom of the pan, and then you put a piece of wax paper over them, and then layer them again, then wax paper, like you're doing a lasagna, but you're using wax paper in the cookies. Once you're up to the top, layer one more wax paper, put the lid on it, and then put them in the freezer. They will last about 3 months in the freezer.